Right, if we talk about the other side of that equation, though, the G2 side, this is the reason why I wasn't that hyped when this roster was announced, Dom, because people did this thing that they do, and this is how you know you're a truly transcendent player. When you're a truly transcendent player, they don't even question if you'll play at your peak. They just go, right. So when Caps is amazing, and then you get it, like, you just go like that, like, dude, whoa, what? Because this happens in CSGO all the time, dude. Like, when a player's like the best player in the world, they go, right, well, if you were to add him to that team, and I go, well, who says the star player keeps playing 10 out of 10? Like, that's not a given. Like, it's very rare there are geniuses that just year on year, they're always just the best. So to me, you've seen when Caps is just a good player, of God forbid when he has an off game, what does his team have? Like suddenly it becomes like it becomes like an XL dude. When Caps is on his game, this is just another XL. I know it sounds like hate to say that, but like I feel like almost everything has to go right if this team's gonna have any chance to win.
Yeah, well, I mean, XL now has the winner's mindset, so I expect them to just shit all over G2. I'm going to nail that shit. Like, I'm going to keep on going throughout the entire episode. But, I mean, I think G2 definitely has other options. Like, they have other places that they can play through that I think XL doesn't have. Like, I would take BB over Finn any day when it comes to, like, playing a carry matchup. I would take BB over him any day. I would take Targamas. I would take Targamas on anything besides for Zyra to actually be able to put up a fight. I feel like they just didn't have champions that really allow them to have other options. And like the way that their draft kind of functioned was to play through bot lane. Like you have a Caitlyn lane, so you're going to be playing through bot lane. You want to just be focusing on that the entire time. And then top lane's supposed to exist and mid's supposed to exist. Top lane's on a tank and mid lane's on Corki. So as soon as the bot lane falls, I feel like they just look worse than they actually should because they don't have a plan B. It's just like that is the plan. Push in bot lane, harass them under turret. Like Zyra is just going to be unkillable because she's going to build tank and you're just going to keep on running the game through a Caitlyn. And this is like one of the biggest problems that I have with that champion is that every team around the world, like we saw the same thing with 100 Thieves in NA. When I was watching NA, they tried to do the same thing. Clearly, they're just not a Caitlyn team. And Caitlyn, you have to run the whole game. You have to have the advantage bot lane. You have to be first on moves. You have to be pressuring turrets. You just have to play the tempo game consistently. And if that's ever like fucked with at all, if your tempo is ever killed at any point, it just feels like, oh, now we just don't have an AD carry compared to the enemy team. So for me, I don't think that it's actually that doomed. I think that it looked worse than it was because of the champions that the rest of the team was on.
It's not doomed, but one of the problems I have with this squad is this isn't a squad like some of the others where they're like meeting each other on like, 3 days before week one. As far as we know, this lineup essentially, because they were trying the players out in the bot lane from ages ago, they've essentially had like the makings of this team quite a long time now. Like they've had plenty of time to think things through, run a bunch of scrims, experiments, play against even international competition as far as I know. Like it's not like this is the team that, they just still get it together in week one. So my problem is I expected, especially with the Dylan Falco team, I thought they'd actually be a little bit better out the gate though. Like I thought I'd see more like of a consistent level. So I will say they've only lost to two top teams in theory so far, like other teams that are in the mix to be up there. But this next game this week is the one that's going to really say a lot to me, because when they play against Fnatic, it can't be another damp squib, as we say in English. This has to be a banger game. Even if you lose it, just show me something. Show me that cohesion. Show me that the support and the jungle are on the same page. Again, people don't have to win the game, but show me like the fight basically in this one.
Yeah, I definitely think that this needs to be a better performance, especially because Fnatic hasn't been looking that strong themselves. I mean, I definitely think the bot lane is still completely insane. Looks like by far the best bot lane. And especially when you consider all the AD carries that have left. Like, Hansama and Reckless are no longer in the league. Those are the two people consider. Like, if somebody was like, oh, I actually don't think Upset is the best AD carry in EU last split, they would have said, oh, well, we think it's Hansama then. And if it wasn't Hansama, you'd have some, delusional fanboys be like, it's Reckless. He's just in the wrong environment. Yeah. People love shitting on Carzzy. People act like Carzzy's just complete dog shit, even though he's pretty proficient. I actually like Carzzy as a player. But yeah, I mean, I think the AD carry pool has gotten weaker. There's a lot of new players coming in. I mean, if you look at Rogue now, they have Comp. You have Mad Lions are playing with Unforgiven. They're not playing with players that should be rivaling Upset. So I feel like Fnatic just has a huge advantage in that regard, but there's still like a bunch of like random ins from Wonder. Razork has not played the same as he did with Misfits. So to me, I think it's the biggest test for G2 is their bot lane. If everything else looks fine, it could be fine if they lost this game. Like I'm not expecting them to beat Fnatic. I don't think that they're favored to beat Fnatic, but I just want to see them lose in a reasonable fashion where it's like your top lane looks good, your jungle looks good, and your bot lane just wasn't able to match the best bot lane in Europe, or probably the best bot lane in the West. depending on if Court JJ gets his green card and he actually ends up playing with Hansama. So that's pretty much what I'm looking at in this game is, does the bot lane do okay? And does the rest of the team actually start performing?
For me, the key thing about LEC right now is the records are misleading. Like I can't say, I even alluded about Rogue, but it applies to Fnatic as well. The two teams that have yet to lose a game, in Rogue's case, they just played all the worst teams essentially, except like one good team. And then in the case of Fnatic, they basically just brute forced them. They just had better players, and they clearly have the existing already best bot lane, like you say. So to me, like unlike in past, sometimes you have a split where it's like this is the team that's cracked like the meta at the beginning of the season, like the first 8-9 games, no one could touch them. That isn't the case for either of these teams that are at the top. Like, if I was one of those 3-2 teams, mate, the whole split is absolutely still game on. Like, these teams, if someone like Fnatic doesn't get like 20% better, they're going to drop games in these coming weeks. Like, there's definitely going to be BO1s they lose.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I was just looking at it right here, and I believe Rogue as well have played SK, BDS, and Astralis. And we go through earlier in the show when I was giving my little power ranking, my division of teams. Those are the bottom 3 teams.
Yes,
so,
they've both played them. Yeah.
Yeah, so both of those have played the bottom 3 teams already,
yep.
Which means that these are going to be the next banger games. I mean, Fnatic's best game, I guess, was against Vitality when Vitality was just running it down week 1.
Yep.
Outside of that, they played Misfits, which is in that 6th, 7th tier. And yeah, they haven't played against Mad Lions. They haven't played against Rogue. They haven't played against G2 yet. Like, they haven't played against any of the other top 5. So for me, I think that it's pretty much what you say. Strength of schedule is a huge deal here. And both of these teams had ridiculously easy strengths of schedule. So sure, they're 5-0, but I don't think that they're just the best teams in the world. Like, I don't expect Rogue to just be so much better than they were last year. And I'm not sold that they've cracked the code with this new lineup. I mean, there's definitely games that I've seen them play where I thought, yeah, if you had if you were playing this type of game, if you had this off of a game versus a better team, you'd lose. Thought the same thing with Fnatic last week. That Astralis game, come on, you're taking 40 minutes to beat Astralis. Look, all those random wonder ints like before Barons and stuff like this. I mean, it was not a clean game by any stretch. So why should I believe that can't happen versus a good team? It was just because you're underestimating Astralis. Like, that could easily happen. These teams are not crisp. They're not polished yet. We can see this happen against G2, and they could just lose a game like that. So, I mean, it's early in the season. I think first round robin, you can start talking about it, but you really start getting a sense for team strength about 3/4 of the way through the split, because the split is so short. It's only 18 games. Like, technically, we're almost a third of the way through the split, but I mean, we played 2 weeks. We've barely played at all.
Want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.